this is Adam Troy. I want to show you my most current drum set before it changes. I built this one specifically for my latest project I was working on with Logan Bell called the Centauran Experiment. And I absolutely love this one. This one has been a little bit of a labor of love. It's a pearl crystal beat with a DW Design Series acrylic snare and a vintage Ludwig Vistalite down there in the middle. Those electric toms right there are pearl. I believe it's called the TP1s. Sometimes I get those mixed up with the Tama. On another video, I showed the Tama Techstar stuff I used on this album as well. Just gonna flip that sideways so you see a little bit better view. I love Sabian cymbals, so I use those a lot. The other ones I like are Zildjian A Customs. This is actually a Zildjian A Custom as well. It's just that it's been kind of worn down a little bit. These are Sabian 13s. I like 13s because they're a little bit more high pitched and kind of get them out of the mix a little bit better. But believe it or not, when I did this particular album, I used Sabian Fusion 14s. The same thing, AAX Fusion hats. But I used actually 14s on the album. A couple tracks I used the 13s, like Castrovalva. And another one I can't remember exactly, but where I just kind of laid some hi-hat parts down here and there separately. Also hooked into there is a TM2. Mostly I use that to double up the snare sometimes and the kick. Also sometimes with the toms, where I'll put the triggers across all four toms, because that thing can either work as kick and snare, or four triggers, dual triggers out of the fourths, and then use it on toms. However, I ended up using actual electronic Tama Techstar stuff on this album, and then some other things I created with some synthesizers. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful drum set. When you hear the album, you can hear all the sounds I got out of it. Most people would say, gosh, those things are just too loud, you can't get any good sound out of them. I got everything from very beatly, tea towel sounding great stuff, to bigger tom sounds on this particular album. And of course, with the snare, it's all about how you use it. I have my own tricks up my sleeve on how I get that snare to sound great, dead, bright, cut, funky, whatever you want. I really don't actually use moon gel, but there is moon gel on these right now. What I'll do sometimes is I'll use the moon gel up next to the trigger so the triggers work a little bit better. I have to tell you, there's nothing like Roland triggers. These are the latest one, the 30 RTs. A couple of them are dual triggers, and then I have like 3 single triggers. I just have usually a dual one on the first tom, so I can hit some stuff on the rim. Otherwise, single triggers work just fine when I'm using that. What's coming in next for my drum set is an SPD 30 and a few other things. I'm going to go even more hybrid. I haven't decided whether I'm going to keep the toms in the latest set or put the SPD 30 in here and then kind of go with a more compact set. Just because of this particular album, performing it or anything like that, I'm going to have to use a lot of stuff out of the computer. I've already started building a separate computer system just to run stuff for the drums on stage and to trigger things. I'm not sure if I will keep the rack going, the Pro rack that's there. I like it because it holds, a lot of things on there. It's holding the hi-hat right now. It's just a little cumbersome, a little difficult to deal with sometimes when you're out traveling or in small situations, bringing things around. It's nice to be compact. Also, the Pearl pads, which are okay, they're like a rubber thing. They don't trigger very well, or any of the old electronic pads from the 80s and stuff. They don't trigger very well with the new, more modern modules. No matter how much sensitivity you adjust and this and that and all that kind of stuff. They just never, you can never kind of get this, that little roll, the little tap, it'll just disappear. But they're good for kind of hitting, that sort of thing. Or if you're just hitting a clap or like I do with all my stuff like that, it works out pretty well. So we'll see what happens. But I like the old Pearl electronic toms because they fit in, they use the same hardware as all the Pearl, and that's everything that's going on here. My favorite pedals down there. I am not a double kick player, but sometimes I'll do a little bit of it here and there. But yeah, primarily everything's Pearl except for the kick, which is a vintage Vistalite. Very, very, well, it's a lot easier to find these days when they started making them again. But this is one that's actually from the 70s back there. I have a big old teddy bear in there. And my favorite Snare DW. I've been trying to pick up one of my old favorite Very Pitch, Pearl Very Pitch. It has a rototom on the top. And I almost won one on eBay the other day. It just kept going up so high and high in price, and I started thinking, you know, I used one of those for years and rototoms and everything, and I remember why I sold it. More of a novelty thing to kind of have it. Again, I can get the same thing out of my DW. The only thing I wouldn't mind having is either a Pearl floating 6.5, this is a 5, or a DW 6.5 too. I just like that, a little bit deeper snare. I can get that out of this thing, but it takes a little bit of work. Not a big deal. Again, I like combining electronics with acoustic, hybrid. That's my favorite thing to do. Cymbals are just getting so nice and easy to reproduce electronically anyways, that I'll probably maybe go all electronic. Plus, as I'm getting older, still twirling the sticks, these fingers, gosh, are getting really painful these days. So I may go back to a little bit softer electronic mesh stuff, which I did for a while, but we will see. So there she is,